Welcome back, dear viewer. The Twist Boys are back in action. COVID delayed us.
Turns out I didn't have it. That was nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
I had Brody's food poisoning, or slash Brody's can't digest.
You had Brovid.
Yeah, I did. I don't think it was if it was food poison. I don't think it was food poison because I wasn't vomiting and I didn't have diarrhea.
It's just your body.
Yeah, my body's fucked. Anyway,
nothing.
we are back and we are
Never ever felt like this.
Season 2, and man, it's starting to ramp up.
There's a noticeable improvement in the general quality of things.
Mm.
You know, aside from, once you get used to the kind of narrower aspect ratio Bronson and the fact that he's like even gingerer, once you
much
start
better
adapting,
actor though.
I think all around, yeah.
Mm.
I think this one actually has child actors as opposed to like feral forest children they abducted. Like that. They just declawed original Bronson. And then when the series was finished, they just chucked him back into the beach and, off he went.
I believe he's in Byron Bay now. That's where he got swept to.
Yeah. Byron Bay is that weird part of Australia that's like exclusive. Like it's a holiday destination. So there are exactly two kinds of permanent resident. Unbelievably wealthy people and celebrities, like seriously. And then the poorest feral maniacs you've ever seen, who live in like a fucking like weird half trailer on like a patch of beach that like their granddad bought for like $2 back in like 1964.
The shanty people.
Yeah, the shanty folk.
Yeah.
The fae.
And it's nuts because like there's a certain type of person in Australia and they're the beach people, and they're not people that love the beach. They're people that have to live at the beach. Like, I'm not shitting you. They will go mental if they're living anywhere else.
Yeah, my mom lived on Bribey for a while, and so we'd go up there to visit and stuff. And like, yeah, it's still there's a weird kind of person who lives on the beach but seems to hate the beach.
Yeah, but they can't leave because the beach has a hold of them.
Well, and it's just a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
real estate far away is reasonably. So this episode starts with like what looks like that SBS ad from the 90s. You remember the one I'm talking about? Like, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
That's called Deep Forest, by the way, which is something I know.
The more you know.
Yeah. It's actually really cool. Like, it's this whole fucking, like, quest, effectively.
There was a lot of Australian culture shock in this episode for me.
Some bits and pieces. So it's like some fucking monks chucking what looks like a fucking stuffed animal into a little basket and tying it to a boat and then just sending it off. I think Tibet's landlocked. So I'm not... Although I think maybe later they say it was Mongolia.
They did say it's Mongolian, yeah.
I think Mongolia is landlocked. I can't remember exactly.
Well, the Mongols came and invaded Japan, so they had to have been able to get to water somewhere.
That was when they just owned China, though.
Oh, yeah,
that's
and
true.
I'm not
sure when this is. So
that's true. Yeah.
I don't know when they mailed this.
Well, maybe these monks are just living on an island somewhere. Like
monks put a fucking fluffy thing in a bag, and then the episode's called Copycat, and we cut to the modern day of 1991, and the kids walking on the beach.
It was a very high saturated time. Saturation was in the air, every which way you went. Contrast was a little down, Do you feel that? Do you remember time periods in different contrast? Like in saturations from TV shows and stuff?
I feel like some of it was because I was outside a little more often in the 90s. So, like, I do remember having to squint an awful lot more. Whereas now, I won't leave the house between, like, 10 and 3.
Yeah.
So... I get to like walk outside without having my eyes bleached.
It is true. We are in the cancer country.
Yeah.
So yeah, we cut to the kids walking down the beach with some sort of thing. Flying contraption.
It looked like like a wing of some description. And a horse goes by. I think Pete wants one, and then Linda's like just disapproving of that.
Yeah. The dog's called Brutal. Which is fucking weird, man.
I couldn't tell if it was brutal as in like...
Well, the lady was saying like brutal. There was definitely a T there. Yeah, but then later on I was listening for it and they definitely said brutal. So I don't know.
The thing is either would fit. I can understand calling a tiny little terrier thing brutal, but also mixing that with poodle is something that like you can see kids doing.
Yeah.
So I just think it's both. We'll just leave it as... It can be like, what fucking Akira says to Thingo at the end of Evangelion that they never, let you hear. It's just that.
All right. And they're talking about entering the Birdman contest, but the girls are upset because it's called Birdman.
Yeah.
And
so they're common in Australia because Australia has a lot of like piers. I know that they do happen in other countries. But like they're that thing where like everyone just goes to a pier and needs to come up with a good reason to have people jump off the end. And so you're allowed, it's human powered. So you're allowed to have a glider of some description, a wing, something along those lines.
Just no engines.
Yeah, no engines. And then you can jump off the end of the pier and you try to go as far as you can. And whoever gets furthest away from the pier wins. I mean, not the respect of the audience.
It was odd. I'll talk about it more when we get to it. But the thing that just stood out to me is these contests are always on the end of a pier. I've seen they were doing this on the side of a pier.
Was it?
I don't know. That's what it looked like.
It wasn't a very long pier.
It was weird.
Because like some piers, it depends on what the beach is like. Because there's like a really long one at Shorncliffe, but a lot of like what it's on is technically the ground, but it's like all the rocks that just aren't covered by the water all the time. So like it might have been like a tide issue,
possibly,
where it just looks like it's sort of the edge because of where
they
the
give me
rocks
the
are.
willies. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. And so the girls are complaining that it's called Birdman competition, and then Linda does some cartwheels. Bronson attempts a cartwheel and just fails
because he's a little ginger nugget.
The dog chases some horse feces, and just goes to town on it, which is, you don't know this now, but is Chekhov's feces, because this actually pays off later in the episode.
It is. There is a lot of payoff. There's a lot of setup in this season.
This is one of the most dramatically competent episodes I think that they've managed.
It really is. Structurally, it doesn't deviate from its central plot.
It's not just stuff happening exactly.
Yeah.
Like
for a children's show, this is probably the best structured one we've had so far.
Yeah. Then what is it? Fucking rabbit or something?
So yeah, we go to the Grib boys, rabbit, tiger.
Yeah,
Gribble.
We're also practicing for the fucking...
And Rabbit's at the top of a cliff. And they're egging him to jump with his glider. And this looks like a pretty tall cliff. This is like 5 meters plus.
It's like, compared to like the height of him, it's several of him. And I think a good rule of thumb is don't jump off several U's,
100%.
Like, because like jumping off the roof of this house isn't very high, but like I'm still gonna have to fucking pull off one of those parkour rolls.
There's an impact.
Yeah, if I don't want my knees to fucking explode.
Because they will.
Yeah. Like you've got to really you got to get the butt under there. There's a lot you got. And like, okay, so he's a kid, so he's probably a little more durable. You can just chuck those buggers around. And he's basically a kid in like a fucking strap-on plane. And he jumps and he just plummets like a fucking rock.
And I'm a bit sad we didn't see impact because it cut in a way that it was actually a very good cut. Like it was very well shot.
It's a good way of not injuring a child, but that's not what we're here for.
Yeah, because then it's because it pans to Grib and Tiger, and then pans down to Rabbit with his face.
Yeah.
Plumb in the sand.
So we get we sort of get it, but we don't. We don't get.
You get a sense of he impacted, but we don't see the impact.
The problem is YouTube has made me really just numb to everything but the impact.
I know, dude.
Because I can,
and we just watch Jackass forever.
Well, I could literally on my phone right now just go like kid jumping off sand part, and like there'd be 100 of them.
I want blood.
Yeah,
I know it's a G-rated TV show, but I want blood.
Well,
damn it.
I mean, okay, not blood. We want bonk. We want to see the little bugger hit the ground.
No, fuck it, I want blood.
Nothing has to come spilling out of him.
Release the R-rated cut, you cowards.
The Snyder cut of fucking...
Oh, I mean, it's already in 4:3.
Yeah,
He's fucking excited.
Rabbit here also operating on orc rules because his contribution to the design is it should be painted red.
I agree.
Yeah, which will help.
To which the Twist kids come up. They've seen that they've failed. Yeah. And this is actually quite a reversal here because the Twist kids start giving them shit.
I mean, granted, they did just watch a kid eat shit. So there is, I understand walking over going, ha ha, your thing failed and you failed, you fucking failed.
Yeah. And then they're like, something said in Birdman, he was like, oh, more like nerd man. And I was like, What?
That's a good burn when you
Like,
have no.
Those kids aren't nerds. These are the bullies.
Yeah,
Like-
I feel like it was just being used as a slur.
I guess.
in that regard. And then in response to this, the Gribbles pretend to fall over and then just land on like Pete's glider.
It
and crush
reminded me very much of the Austin Powers. Oh no, I've fallen. I've fallen again.
Yeah, it was like that, except they were like fucking up a glider.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think that the glider looked much better than like the Gribble one.
No.
The thing about gliding is like you need like a ridiculous amount of wing for it to work. Like ridiculous. You see those fucking, because there are people who build like pedal power gliders and shit, and it's this tic tac with like a skinny dude in it and like 100 meters of wing.
Yeah.
Like it is fucking nuts. But then like if you've got all that wing, you can get over like the English Channel and shit.
Which is nuts.
Yeah, like that's fucking crazy. And it's like also, because it'll come up later, but I'm kind of curious as to what the specific rules are regarding these Birdman competitions. Because, like, am I allowed to get, like, UQ's fucking engineering department involved in this? Like, am I allowed to just show up with, like, something that I spent, like I designed in a wind tunnel and it clearly just not fair?
Yeah.
I'm just ruining it for everybody else. It doesn't even have any paper mache on it. Like, it's made using, like, fucking carbon fiber or some shit.
Yeah, I don't think that's legal.
Yeah, I've got, like, a fucking...
I feel it's at the
jockey that
judge's
weighs 40
discretion
kilos.
to tell the rules in a way that, you know, don't let something like that happen. So the glider's smashed. The kids are all upset. Now, Linda apparently has still a secret plan, but she's still not going to tell them what it is.
Yeah. She's like, don't worry, I've got this.
And then they see that little raft we saw in that opening card with the little jar on it.
Yeah, normally it's where you'd put your Jumanjis. That's where Jumanjis go, is into that raft.
And Bronson gets excited. Finders keepers, he runs over. I saw it first.
Yeah, I mean,
and he
fair
says
enough,
it's such a funny kid thing when he opens up, he goes, I'm in charge of it. I love that line. That is such a kid thing to say.
I know. I saw it. I'm the boss of it. No one else gets to make decisions. And he knows he has to do that because the reality is anyone bigger gets to make decisions.
Yeah. And as I liked how it opened, there was like a little plume of like smoke pop around it. That was a nice little touch.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that like they got rid of the fucking, like the Tibetans got rid of it by like just putting it in like a barrel. Like they could have just filled the barrel with sand and then tied the thing up and then tossed it into the water and had it sink. It's like, this feels dickish, you know?
Oh,
like,
no, they 100% know it's trouble and they're sending it off to someone else.
Imagine if we disposed of like highly radioactive material by sticking it on a little raft, just sending it over to the ocean. It's like, well, that's going to fuck somebody up. Like,
they knew what they were doing. They're laughing. There's a little GoPro tied to it there.
Yeah, so Bronson, and I didn't know what the fuck the fucking Mongolians had stuck in this fucking crate to begin with. It was just this mass. Like, it looked kind of like a stuffed teddy, but I thought, that doesn't seem right. And so he pulls this thing out. And it's like, to their credit, they went to the effort of making the back of it kind of look like a Mongolian hat. But the front of it is very clearly what looks like a herniated Garfield from like the 80s that you'd see stuck to a car.
Yeah.
And so it's this...
Someone left it out in the sun for like too long and it's half melted.
Yeah, or one of those vacuum-packed ones you see on the internet.
Yeah.
And so like... There could have been a bit less to it physically, I think. You know, like
it was way too big.
Yeah, like if it had just been like a kind of regular Mongolian hat with like a little bit of eyes and nose on the front under some of the fluff.
Because like on the sides, it did have the ornate like the little bits of it on the straps.
Yeah,
and
that was the actual. Someone actually knew something about like a vague idea of what Mongolian hats look like.
If you reduce the Garfield aspect, you would have had a much like
because it looked like a Russian hat with a Mongolian arse.
Yeah.
Which is probably a Siberian. No, that's a Turkmenistani hat. That's what that is. It's weird if you ever, because like you get so used to seeing European people and then Asian people, and like because that Central Asian area was like behind the Iron Curtain for so long, none of them ever really got to be anywhere else. And you forget that there's just like Turkmenistan, which is where white Asian people come from, and it's just fucking crazy.
Dude, the world is mind blowing.
Yeah, you see these white guys, except they've just got Asian faces, and it's like, oh yeah, there is just like a halfway point. And so, like, this hat's kind of that. Because there's, like, a little bit of Russian at the front and then a little bit of fucking Mongolian at the back.
So Bronson's wearing the hat. And so Linda starts cartwheeling. And Bronson sees the cartwheel. And the cat's eyes open, like, on the front of it goes, ka-ching! And you see a scope. And it sees Linda doing the cartwheels. And then Bronson gets compelled,
Yeah.
and then he does the cartwheels as well. So we've seen that.
Taskmaster.
Yeah, he's essentially Taskmaster.
Except
pretty
you
sick.
can't decide.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the downside is like, I like the idea of being able to copy, like a copycat as a mutant ability is a really, really good one.
Fuck
if
yeah.
You know what you're doing. But like, I don't want to like immediately do it.
Yeah, no,
And then it's
God,
just
no.
gone,
Or
like-
if it like might not activate. Who knows
Yeah.
when it's activated? It's like,
I mean, yeah, I can cope with the fucking almost random activation if I get to decide when I do the thing. You know?
yes, yeah, true.
Like if it just, and I'm okay if it like, I got like ammo for it, like it runs out. Like
Yeah.
you get one use of cartwheel, but then you got to see another cartwheel.
Yeah.
Like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
we fucking got something. But like just, if you see a cartwheel and then immediately do a cartwheel, that's not practically
No.
useful in any way, shape, or form. That feels like one of those sad mutant abilities they put in an episode of X-Men where like, they try to remind you that there's also like a disability component to
Yeah.
having wild ass eye lasers or the ability to just control the weather or like being able to turn into a metal god man.
Yeah. And
Because
like,
there's no downsides to metal god man. That's he gets to decide when that happens too.
Yeah.
It's not like it's like, oh yeah, I'm a metal god man, but also nothing is strong enough to stimulate my glands.
I think about that aspect a lot of mutant abilities, of that, the fact just humanity seeing mutants rise, and then it's like, well, what's that mutant? Long neck. Okay, he's got a long neck. Okay, that's fucking useless. What's Jean Grey? An Omega level mutant. Okay.
Yeah.
And like, what if one of those just awakens and they don't know what the fuck they're doing?
Well, yeah, they had Proteus, who was basically that. He was like effectively an uber god that could, fiddle with reality.
Yeah.
But was also just kind of insane.
Yeah, you
it's
don't
like,
want
oh,
that.
that's not great.
So like, I understand.
It's always the fucking backfire part of like X-Men as an allegory about prejudice, because it's like, it's not like gay people could eye laser the world in half, you know? Like, that's when people go, we should register mutants, is like, I understand there's like an argument to be had regarding civil liberties in this, but again, it's not like black people could just destroy the world with like a punch, you know? It's not like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar could like fucking, had a healing factor.
Yeah.
You know,
That's why just a quick interjection. We'll get back on track. That's why the current X-Men run, I think, is very fucking interesting, because they essentially seceded, created their own nation, started curing like cancer and all these other things, and saying we'll give them to humanity as long as they give us our rights, all this other shit. And it's just like they are actually showing like Magneto's side of no, homo superior. You can't do shit to us. We're over here just minding our own fucking business. Don't fuck with us. We won't fuck with you.
I feel like we could just give him Mars. Like, one of you has to have.
No,
the
they
ability to
have
just-
taken Mars.
Well, look at that.
Yeah, they've said they've terraformed Mars.
Yeah, just have a whole Mars.
So-
You could have like mutant Sylvania and whatever.
Yeah, because that was essentially like previous, before Mars became Mars. It was like Arakoa, which is like an ancient mutant homeworld of like.
All right, let's
Anyway,
not get into that.
back
like,
on track.
So like
Mongolian
fucking,
copycats.
It looks like a modified Garfield, and so like Bronson's mastered, cartwheel, and then we cut to Tony leaping about not doing a cartwheel, happy that Faye has finally said yes to his constant harassment.
It was such a jump, dude, of like, I'm getting married. It's like the previous episode, Tony wanted to hypnotize her.
Hypno rape.
Yeah.
It worked.
Like, obviously.
Maybe he's like the purple man.
It's been him all along.
Yeah, it's been him all along.
Jesus, that actually makes sense. Tony's pulling the strings.
I mean, like,
That's why Gribble wants him out of the town. He's actually a menace.
Good for him. And, Faye, don't reward this kind of behavior. And then Nell immediately identifies it as a Mongolian cat hat. I'm still just going to call it herniated Garfield. So,
I love that. Like, I love that Nell knew what it was immediately, because of course she does. Nell's our compendium.
I get the idea that she probably does have, like, just an entire set of encyclopedias in her house and has read them.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, Nell is like fucking 1991's Wikipedia.
She's our...
Which is basically how that used to work, except the old person you spoke to was usually wrong.
If I remade this, I would keep a lot of things the same, except I'd make Nell essentially Giles from Buffy.
Yeah.
So she trains the kids, and
Rename
tells
her Niles.
tells them a bit. tells. God damn
Try
it.
and finish that sentence.
Tells them a bit, more, because she's like, that's the thing that annoys me about Nell, is she knows everything, yet the kids never ask her more.
Yeah.
They just and I get it because it's a
I'd
children's
get
show.
the cat
but,
hat to copy Nell, and then I'd steal her wisdom.
Oh, good idea.
See, a lot
but
of
you might
this-
just get dementia.
Shit.
Also, also, yeah, what if you just get dementia?
Well, I mean, like, it'd wear
It'll go
off
away,
like cartwheel, unlike dementia. You know?
Fucking
And don't we
Christ.
all feel bad for making fun of fucking Bruce Willis now?
Oh, dude, it's so bad, man. That
Oh, well.
sucks. Anyway, Nell and Tony and the kids, they're all
Bronson
happy.
invites Dad to come bash up some kids.
Oh, dude, to which Tony is like, because it's like, what are you kids up to? Oh, we're going to go bash up, the Gribbles because they wrecked our flyer. You want to come, Dad? No, some other time. And that's what got me. No, some other time instead of no, Bronson, we shouldn't bash up children. That's wrong.
Yeah. I'm an adult. My child bashing days are over. Although every now and then when I'm in the fucking supermarket, there'll be a parent in there. Like when I have some horrible need to like go to a supermarket during the day, there'll be like a parent in there with a kid who's misbehaving. And every fucking time I've got to stop the sewer clown part of my brain from just making eye contact with her and saying, "Madam, all you have to do is say the word and I will bash your fucking kids." Because all they need to know is that once monsters are real, and their mum can summon them, and they'll think twice about causing
That's
a
true,
scene.
yeah. So Tony has a bowler hat that he just slips on, and he has the clockwork orange eye and then he goes out and bashes some children. That's it. You can see it.
He calls it going on a fucky wucky. After that, I wrote, "This is a bitey Bronson," because he's a bit more aggressive than former Bronson.
Yeah, he was upset that they're getting married.
Yeah.
Obviously, because he's a young child and he doesn't want. He's the idea of his mother.
Yeah. Well, your mum left you, Bronson. Then, so I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
you were too ginger for her.
Yeah. So he was a bit upset. He tells it that she's going to eat all the food and make him do homework. I get the eating all the food part, but like, don't you have to do homework already, Bronson, or you get detention? Like,
Yeah.
fucking stop being a delinquent.
Yeah. You should be doing homework now. I mean, in a technical sense, and you shouldn't be because it's not a very well structured concept, homework. But
Yeah.
where we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So they fucking go to take a bus into town to basically dob on the Gribbles, and they get on the bus, and Bronson's bus fare is just 2 handfuls of toys.
Oh, dude, yeah. He goes to pull money out, and he's like, he's lost his bus pass.
But it's like, I don't think he ever had one.
No.
There's just like a handful of string and some plastic Google.
His dad gave him money to buy the bus pass, and that's what he's bought.
Right, yeah.
That's what I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're probably fucking right on that, actually. Yeah, and he's bought like I swear I recognized those things. Remember Monster in My Pocket? Yeah, I think some of them were Monsters in My Pockets.
Right.
Which was like Pokemon before Pokemon, and they weren't like a cute rat. It was like a goblin that had like a fucking, mace for a hand and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a game component to them. But
So the
they
bus
were everywhere.
driver tells him to hurry up. He hasn't got all day.
Yeah.
To which you pointed out it was the Go-Go mobile
I know,
guy.
and
That broke my brain.
Here's the thing about Australian culture. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't.
No.
If I remember going to Japan and seeing a street that's been the same since the 1400s, and I was like, "Oh right, yeah."
That's
so
culture.
There's Aboriginal culture that's like, "Oh yeah, this is really old," and there's like the stones and shit. But like, again, there wasn't the political fucking socio-cultural concept of Australia. That's just like, oh yeah, there's like Yagara people, and there's like here's a thing, and it's like, oh that's cool. But like aside from that, and like a lot of that's not relevant to the modern world.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, this is a song we have. Neat. But aside from that, oh well.
Yeah.
And then there's like Australia, the modern thing of Australia. And the thing is, Australia is like started in 1901, was kind of a shit fight at the beginning, and has had fairly persistent waves of like immigration over the years. And so no, there's just nothing. Like there's kind of like the Australian culture's boiled down to like a couple of participating in every war for like since the Boer War for like no reason really.
Yeah.
I mean, we were attacked once, and then every other time it's just like, well, there's a fight on. Let's go get some Australians. Like we're just like some fucking, fucking Salusa Secundus for the rest of the fucking world. Which, all right, fair play. And then there's like fucking, the rest of Australian culture is literally like 4 ads. The Go-Go Mobile ad, Marge the Rains are here. Not happy, Jan. Like that's fucking it. Like if you try to get any other fucking description of Australian culture, you're gonna get people staring at you.
Yeah. No,
An
for reals.
MP in this country tried to have a fucking citizenship ceremony at a Bunnings. That's Australian.
Oh,
No,
fuck.
that's this fucking place.
I didn't need to know that. Fuck.
There are a few.
I feel stupid of knowing
Yeah.
that. God
There
damn
are a
it.
few vague traditions, but that's fucking it. And so when you see the Go-Go Mobile guy, you like your brain lights up like some fucking, Englishman getting a look at like fucking, Stonehenge.
Yeah.
'Cause
So it was
that's
an
all- that's
ad.
it.
It went, I've got the problem with my go-go
Yeah,
mobile.
it's an ad with a guy with a Scottish accent. and yeah,
G-G-O.
it was an ad for the Yellow Pages too, which is even more amusingly archaic.
Like, why was there an ad for that? Didn't you get it for free?
Yeah, but you did have to, again, like, you could just have this enormous encyclopedia of stuff that exists show up at your house and not know how to use it. So they had to remind people that, like, this mammoth doxing document that you'd get just for free. And then there was the white pages, which literally had your name and address in it.
That's mind breaking when you think of that. Like, because every year, every 1 to 2 years, what would happen? Oh, a fucking book would show up with you where you lived and your phone number in it. What?
Yeah. I know, and that was
This is how we lived. And that's how you found businesses. Then the yellow. That's what the yellows were for.
Yeah, the Yellow Pages was business. White Pages was like just a human you wanted to
Before
stalk.
we didn't have the internet. That was our internet.
I'm pretty sure you had to like pay to not be in there as well,
You did.
which is nuts.
Which is insane, yeah. You had to pay for it not to come to your house.
Because there was just no other way of contacting. Like, if you want, I'd like to get in touch with someone. Well, shit. Like that was your fucking
Directory
thing.
assistance was a big thing when it came in.
Hey, I'm looking for some cunt that lives here, and they'd actually fucking they'd be able to help you.
Shit, yeah.
And like, yeah. So like that's
The cat hat lights up on Go-Go Mobile. And
Bronson just imitates him flawlessly.
And to which he gets pissed off and kicks him off the bus.
Yeah. Which is odd now that I think about it, because that little section just doesn't really attach to anything. Because like it's not really a point. They just wind up walking into town to like, if they find Gribble and Matron putting up one of Gribble's Senate ads on like a big thing, and then they just walk up and go, "Hey, your shit kids crashed our glider," and here's a perfect example of why like informing the authorities can be really just ineffective. It's just like, Gribble just goes, "Oh, it was probably an accident," and it's just like, all right, well, that's it.
Yeah,
it's like
there was times, 4 of them that saw it. Yeah, well, so what?
Oh well, it's just like I try to explain this to like women sometimes about like why aren't catcallers arrested? And it's like I've been punched in the head, and like on the odd occasion when there are police literally within walking distance because it was the valley. Just gone, oh yeah, some guy punched me. And they're like, oh, do you want to go to the hospital? I was like, no, I'm okay. Do you know who it was? No.
Nope.
All right. It's like they're not breaking out the fucking CSI team and enhancing all the fucking shit and like talking. They're not, it's, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right. Fair point. I should have ducked.
And they...
So the cat watches Matron pat Gribble on the arse and tell him he's lovely.
Yeah, you look lovely, dear.
Yeah.
And it activates it because Linda's wearing it because Bronson didn't want to wear it after imitating Go-Go Mobile. And that's fair because, he just...
It briefly made him Scottish and he was too terrified of the awesome power of the Mongolian cat hat.
Yeah, so Linda said, okay, I'll wear it. So it activated and her eyes go wide and she just... I love it. I love when the activation happens. Like, it just... Because they're compelled. They can't go against this.
It's a surprisingly subtle effect. Like, because you can't see the face in general when you're looking at the hat. It doesn't look like knowing it's a cat and you can kind of see like maybe a tail or something. Like once you know what you can see like, oh yeah, herniated Garfield. But it's not like just a fucking whole fucking cat.
Yeah, if you
plushie.
saw that and you go, hey, that's a cat hat. No, I'd say that's an orange lump hat.
Yeah, I'd say it looks like the arse of a cat.
Yeah. So it activates and Linda walks over, pauses at Dribble's butt,
gently
turns,
leans into like gently like,
and she's just smiling the whole time. Pat, you look lovely, dear. To which Matron's face is just, and Gribble's face. And I mean, fair enough. He's like a, dude in his late 30s, early 40s, getting smacked on the butt by a fucking like 12-year-old girl.
I mean,
well,
like,
15, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, 12 isn't funny.
15.
Yeah. 15's funny, but you still got to tell him to go away. But it's nice to feel like, it's always nice to feel attractive, It's like, I'm not gay, but I love it when gay dudes hit on me. Like, I'm tempted to string them along just to milk a little bit more self-esteem out of it. But nobody likes a tease, Aaron.
It's true.
Yeah. I'm not going to sit there and fucking make some poor gay dude think that, like, I'm I'm going to savagely top him when that isn't going to happen. Because that's just mean. No.
Yeah, I'm really naturally flirty. I like flirting. It's fun. That hasn't gotten me in trouble.
I am not. But then I am unfortunately threatening. And if you've ever had that go south, it's one of those things just like, I was going to fucking ease up on the brakes there.
Yeah. What's the next scene? We go back to the lighthouse, don't we?
Yeah. We cut to the house and Tony's got poor Faye posing because he's sculpting her. And he mentions how Rodan fell in love with one of his models. And, you know.
Did they spell Rodan wrong? How was that spelled?
All right, now I got to remember because there's Rodan the artist and then Rodan the terrifying bird monster that deserves our worship. All right, where I don't think it's Roda and it might be, but
no, they did spell it right. Rodin.
In,
Yeah. I was just like the subtitles have
Francois Auguste René Rodin.
Been a up and down experience. So yeah, falling in love with Rodan, and to which Tony's talking about the honeymoon and how the kids are going to come, and Faye is not be with this.
No!
Because that's alone time. You're getting married. The honeymoon is the whole purpose is you're celebrating your union.
Yeah. It's
not with anyone else.
No.
Because you don't want Bronson in the next room while you're trying to get your fuck on.
Yeah, it's literally the mating period.
Yeah.
There's literally the one accepted thing is like you don't, you know, and it like, all right, maybe like you got like, you know, mixed families and stuff in the modern era. You still find you find a cupboard to like, or a family to stuff them with just for a bit. And then just like, because nobody wants that.
No. God, no.
Faye doesn't want that. I mean, Bronson may think he wants it, but he's not going to after that.
God, no. We're gonna super scar Bronson.
Yeah. One of my favorite things was in just, I think it was I can't remember if it was a fucking, a TikTok or a Vine, but it's this kid fucking crying in the front seat of his car because like he had to hear his parents loudly fucking like, and his older sister's in the car with him laughing her ass off.
That's
and
so
then it was
funny.
like, and then he just tearfully adds 4 times.
Oh, dude, poor guy.
And then so the cat hat, like, so the dog's, you know, in here because all the kids are in here, and you know, the cat hat sees the dog eat dog food while Tony's wearing it. And Tony actually says, yeah, better watch out for these cat hats. They are supposed to have powers. And then Tony eats the dog food, which Faye finds very funny, which I actually like. Well, I don't want like Tony's antics being like a dramatic point in terms of like 100%. Threatening the fucking wedding. Just
also, she's under his spell, so remember he's the rape wizard.
He's the hypno rapist.
Oh, dude. Then we cut to the kids trying to fix the glider, and Bronson taking off his shoes and huffing it and getting that smell in because he loves it.
He huffs it too. It's not
because
like,
she hasn't washed his feet because he's just been wearing the same shoes. Remember that's the whole underplot point of this whole thing. He lets the dog smell his sock, and the dog bolts, whimpering,
and dies, and then runs away.
Tony comes in and is like, I'll help you kids fix this. I'll make it like a rocket.
Yeah, Tony comes in to actually explain how heavier than air flight works, which is nice because that fucking just baffled humans for ages. Like it wasn't until like the fucking 1900s.
Yeah.
You know? It was just like, oh yeah, we could chuck like a fucking engine on the front of this and then go like, I don't know, 50 meters on this weird fucking contraption. Now I can fly places in like fucking the amount of time it would have normally taken me to like get to fucking Caboolture.
Oh, dude, boats. Like,
boats. Yeah, everyone used to get everywhere on boats. It was like, I'm going to fucking, visit the continent. I'll be back in like 4 years.
Dude,
it's like
I know.
16 months of that's a trip.
And now it's like, hey man, I'm in America.
Yeah.
How long did it take to get here? Like 16 hours?
Yeah.
What?
I had a sleep.
Yeah, like when I went to BlizzCon, I flew because like it was last minute. I flew there after the weekend, flew back, flew out a few days later again for the next convention and back. I was back to American Australia like within, a period of a week. Yeah, I know. And it's like, that would have taken me 10 years back then. That pilgrimage.
Yeah, no, it was just like, well, you'd wave goodbye because you're like, oh, I'm probably never going to see that person
I
again.
might die. The boat might crash. Who knows? Like,
Yeah, or you'll just get like the dropsy or whatever the shit.
the Kraken will get me.
Yeah. And so, yeah, they go to make they repair the glider using newspaper and test it with what I'd consider a worryingly Pete.
I thought it was
mannequin.
Pete at first.
And I was like, I can't fucking.
Because I'm like, he's not going to jump off
they're
the
at the top
lighthouse.
of the fucking lighthouse. And like, you know, you can test this off the roof with like a mattress below you or something. But like, I don't recommend going off a lighthouse because those fucking things are actually pretty tall.
Yeah.
And so it falls like a fucking stone with some wings attached and its legs shatter.
But like, he also just pushed it off. He didn't like simulate like the running at all. Start.
Well, yeah, and also like
It just went
the
flamp.
shove isn't good for a glide because it's a
No.
sudden acceleration that can get it to wobble. You need a bit of like you need to ease that
That's
into
right.
like the fucking the air, and like again the wings are like less than my arms. My arm span is bigger than the wings of these. That's not enough. You are not going to glide like that. You need like that, and then fucking times that by 10,
Yeah.
and then you've got some fucking
Need some
hope.
sort of Wright Brothers fucking
yeah
situation,
Yeah,
multi-deck
like a fucking-
wings.
Yeah, like one of those like old timey ones.
Yeah.
That pulsates.
So
And then-
Pete's
Yeah,
upset at this,
'cause he's not going to win.
and Tony's like, "I'll fix it." And he's like, "No, thank you." He's very upset. But
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know what he expected, to be honest.
I mean, I think part of the problem is we didn't get to see the glider work.
Yes, because
You know?
you're correct. I did miss a part of that. I actually wrote down at the start is they were bragging to the Gribbles before they destroyed it
Yeah.
that it just flew 4 miles.
Well, yeah, that was what
And that-
Bronson said, and he was like,
That
So-
I immediately turned to you and went, "This is Australian."
I know.
Like,
Well,
there is
I mean, it's a bit like there are a few things. Miles are always used in idiomatic.
but it's not going to
like-
be in Bronson's vocabulary.
Probably not, but I mean, like it's people will use miles in like made up distances or like exaggerated. Like whenever it's a lie, it's miles.
Yeah,
It's like how feet and inches it will still get used, but exclusively for dicks and height. Like that's
Yeah.
it. And I mean, like even that was fading kind of when I was around. Like I think of
Mm.
myself as being about 182 centimeters tall.
Yeah.
Like I don't, which I only recognize as being like near 6 foot.
yeah. I'm 188.
Yeah, you're a little bit taller than
Yeah.
I am. And then, so like, yeah, then we remember that like, Linda's got something.
And
she's
she
the
enters.
backup. Yeah, and she.
In a galah costume.
Yeah, and it's just a galah costume. There's no like fucking wings. It's just something you'd see like a fucking mascot.
And she said it was a send up. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be a joke.
And like, okay, but you also seem to act like it wasn't when like we were talking about the like, oh, I've got something. It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah. Don't lie.
Yeah. You have to-
Like, what was your payoff
Yeah.
here, Linda? You're going to see us at the competition.
yeah. Why do you have to turn my homemade aviation workshop into a house of fucking lies? And like, here's like Linda gets an idea, and I'm like, Linda, this is a dangerous idea. Like a lot of these fucking Googles and magic you find have like genie properties where it's like almost a fuck,
It's fucking
there's
monkey
like
paw,
a fuck
dude.
you hiding here somewhere. But like she sees, the cat hat and and hears a plane and gets an idea that I wrote one should consider absurdly dangerous.
Yeah, and it cuts to the plane in the sky flying with like vote number 1 Gribble in it.
Yeah.
And it's obvious what she's going to do. She's going to
Yeah.
look at the plane and become a plane.
Yeah, the cat powers.
So they rock up at the Birdman competition at the pier. There's the horses there. There's balloons.
There's
Lots of
the
people dressed
same
up.
Depressing bullshit you see at these things. Because it's just like, it's just paper mache and crepe paper and streamers fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I get it, but like they always, I know they do happen in other places, but they're so frequent in Australia because there's lots of piers and it's usually, like you can jump off a pier pretty much year round in Brisbane. Like it'll be chilly in the dead of winter, but that's it.
Yeah.
You can't do that in the UK.
No.
You're just like, oh, what's at the end of this pier? Oh, just a brick of ice or like the kind of water that you will just rip you and grab you and drag you to the bottom with icy tendrils
No,
immediately.
fuck that, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. They always like every time I see it, I'm just like, oh, that's like, look at that dinky bullshit. And like, look, all right, I'm sure it's fun. I'm sure you enjoy yourself. But again, this gets to my fucking thing of like, I want to, because like we see the fucking, Tiger's doing the announcing, which is nice. And, we get the usual fucking lunatics. There's like a lady dressed with like a fucking umbrella outfit and says it's got wind resistance. And then the wind picks up and blows her off the edge and she kind of just tumbles into the sea. A smart Asian kid shows up, is bullied and ridiculed by the entire audience and pushed off the edge.
As is Australian tradition.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got culture, there it is. Bullying right there. Schoolyard bullying.
Yeah, that's about the sum of it. And the rabbit shows up having painted his glider red.
They say, what's the specifications of your vehicle? And he goes, well, painted it red. So,
telling you, man, if you had like a fucking orc psyker around or something, you'd be able to affect physics. But he's just a little Australian chud boy and gets nothing. Yeah. And so he jumps off the edge and plummets.
If we gather enough, they're like Pikmin. We can, bash down walls. And
yeah. And then so fucking like, what is it? There's a bumblebee shows up, but it's like a scary looking bumblebee because it's got this weird face and these giant
faces.
lips.
Yeah, don't like it.
And then we get like some fill shots of Nell laughing. Which,
dude, they're so close as well. It's
just
concerning.
They like because it's a location shoot, and there are actually what you'd expect. There's a crowd, which again is not like the kind of thing a fucking 1991 ABC Kids TV budget could really fucking afford. And then so he's like,
they've tricked everyone. People think it's an actual Birdman in that town.
There's a chicken on a bicycle. There's always bikes. I have seen, like, I'll have to look for it after this, but I have seen people eat shit on this. Because normally it's just they just plop into the water and nothing really happens. But there was one where, like, some fucking big bit of wood of the construction flipped around, hit the fucking water, and then the person slammed into it. Because it was really broad, it just didn't sink or yield.
Yeah.
And, like, it looked like it really fucking hurt, which was very funny. Because imagine going to one of these things and bringing your own ground to land on. Because that bastard did it.
So, we get Grib.
Yeah.
Now, Gribs, you're a fucking filthy cheater. I'm sorry. I feel this is out of the fucking...
I know, because he shows up with just a store-bought hang glider.
His dad spent $6,000 to win a $50 competition. Like, just because it would make him look good, of course.
Yeah, and I mean, like, again, what are the rules? Because I feel like I'd get a lot of booze if I showed up with just a hang glider.
Yeah, because technically, it's not engine-powered, but it is literally designed... to do the thing.
There may be a did you make this yourself?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's probably a fucking, if not a written rule, certainly a fucking spiritual.
Yeah, because, like, if I've got a pedal glider, like, if I've got a pedal, like, helicopter, that's still man-powered. Yeah. That's fully man-powered. I'm doing it all by myself.
And it's feasible. Like.
So he takes off.
Yeah,
and as just you goes.
Would. Yeah, because you don't have to fucking, get, like, 100 meters. But, like, everyone else has just managed to go a jump's distance from the fucking thing. And it's like...
he just gently glides off.
Yeah, he's just... Off he goes.
That's exactly correct form, as he did. He didn't, force or anything. It was just nice and easy
he was
motion.
In that weird, like, fucking scrotum you got to get into to do hang glide. Like, he had the gear and the shit, and he fucking... Although, I did say, like, as I'm watching this, I'm like, I'm already worried about the special effects we're going to get for, like, Linda in a Galar costume. And then, like, just fucking Gribble. I remember thinking to myself, Gribble looks like one of those guys whose tongue crawls about his face when he thinks. And then as he's going off, you can see it kick off, and it's like, yep, there it is. Like, one of those people, like, some people just have a tongue out, that's one thing. But sometimes the tongue's got to, like, shift awkwardly like a lizard in a beanbag. Yeah, and it's just moving around.
Yeah.
And it's just like that needs to stop. I can't have,
I honestly don't know how you could do it, because, like, I feel my tongue moving across, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's weird. It's strange, but he looks like the type, and he is the type.
So yeah, Linda is the last contestant. She's got the Galar costume. Fiona's there, standing with the bag. Takes off the headpiece, takes off the bag, and there's the cat hat.
Yeah,
she puts on the cat hat, and
this is actually remarkably intelligent because, like, she wasn't just wearing the cat hat and allowing, inviting the kind of trouble that could bring.
Exactly, because she could be seeing everything.
Yeah.
And she looks up at the plane, and it's not working.
Yeah.
The cat doesn't look at it.
And meanwhile, everyone's booing because she's not doing anything and is just wearing a furry hat.
Yeah. So they're like, 10 seconds or you're disqualified to jump. They're counting down, and she jumps just as we get to 1, and the cat opens up, and it sees a seagull.
Yeah.
Linda opens her eyes. She's not wet, and then suddenly she's flying.
Yeah.
And they do the sensible green screen. It pans out to her face, and they've green screened her against the cliff and, the ocean as she's flying. And it's as you said, it's the Superman effect.
Yeah,
that we've been using forever.
It's the thing of it is, it's not like a fucking just cutout of it being wobbled around.
I do want that cut though.
That ignores that ignores like the direction she's going and shit. Like they have stock footage of like a fucking plane flying around, and they line her up with the direction the stock footage is going, and they fucking and then there you go. Look at that, functional. And it's not a matter of someone invented a new fucking green screen. It's just someone knew how to use the fucking.
I do want a JPEG cut out of her all just zipping around though.
That's what we would have got,
because that's season 1, baby.
Yeah, so like full fucking cheers to the goddamn, employees at like ABC's kids TV department for actually fucking getting that one right finally.
So she flies around for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean like around, like it's not like just an exceptionally long glide off the fucking end of the pier, or like flight off the end of the pier where she's flapping. She's like zooming about the place, like it's full tilt.
And then she lands back on
delighted.
the pier, which I think is technically disqualification because she's got to land in the water.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't think she did win because it's a matter of how far you get from the fucking thing.
Pier to the water.
Yeah, and she's back on the fucking pier
where she started.
Yeah, so I would have mounted a protest.
Also, I'm just like, every person in the town's like cheering and going nuts, and it's like, and Gribbs says she cheated, and he's the only one that says that. And like, yeah, I'd be questioning that too, because I bought the $6,000 glider to win this, and she's just flying around in a fucking glass suit.
Also, that's like a fucking 15-year-old girl flying.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen a lot of these fucking Birdman competitions, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't occur.
And the thing that blows my mind here is Gribbs and Matron actually go against the kid and like, no, that's bad sports, son. And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah,
they're actually teaching the fucking kid good sportsmanship.
Matron happily awards the flying girl the fucking award. And Gribble Jr. is like upset.
He saw the cat blink. He's like, I saw that thing blink.
So he knows, and like again, to his credit, everyone knows that when something weird happens, there's some fucking doodad that's doing it. And any idiot, if they've like, Gribble should be able to look at this and go, oh, okay, it's the fucking hat.
The weird hat that they took out of a bag at the last second to put on her head.
I know, that opened its eyes and he goes, all right, magic flying hat.
And he puts it on.
Yeah.
To prove it. And the dog sees the horse shit on the side of the pier and gallops, takes off. It loves poo.
Zooms.
Of course, the hat sees this.
Yeah. So I think what we've established by the plane not working and the bird doing it is the cat can only imitate like other beings, or other living things.
Yeah.
It won't see a fucking, mechanism as being like something it can imitate.
Yeah, I can't just imitate
Which makes sense,
a motorbike.
Like, yeah, or like, what's it going to do? You look at a photocopier.
Yeah.
It's like.
So Gribbs gets this beautiful trance and starts going over. It says
he walks like a man who's about to eat shit and doesn't want to be doing that.
And everyone's like, oh no. And then boom, face in the shit. And then he pans up at this lovely sort of smile that then starts fading into disgust.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the episode.
Well, the dog looks at him approvingly. It's
like, yeah. I forgot that.
Eating shit, huh?
Hey, brother. Yeah. Good shit today, brother.
Yeah.
It sounds like Hulk Hogan for some reason.
Yeah, it's a terrier, but it's got Hulk Hogan's voice. Which is more like his actual name, Terry Bollea, so it'd be Terrier Bollea. So Gribble eats some horse shit in front of a delighted audience. The dog approves, and
it just suddenly ends. Have you ever?
And that's the end.
Now, I personally believe we could have cut maybe a few minutes of everyone jumping off the pier, because the thing is, we interviewed like 3 people, and then we just had lots of people jumping.
Yeah.
So I think we could have maybe cut the interviews down a little.
I feel like for an episode that foreshadows so well, we needed to see like their glider meaningfully function at some point.
Yeah. Because we've heard it's really good.
Yeah.
But we don't see it. And we don't see Pete. That's the one thing we don't see is Pete.
We don't even see the glider really. Like,
no.
They're just kind of hanging. It's just a massive shit
because
in
Pete
their arms.
is so upset because he thinks he's going to win. And that's kind of the only story part we cut out is Pete's story kind of ends before it even starts. But otherwise...
Yeah, that's the point, because it kind of just shifts to fucking Linda, but really it was like Pete wanted to win. So it's like...
Yeah.
I suppose it's just okay that Gribble and his fucking hang glider didn't win.
It's okay that Gribble ate shit.
Yeah, and also you got to see Gribble eat.
Because like that is the biggest power foot of all. Yeah. You see your bully eat in actual feces.
Eating actual... And in front of people too.
Yeah.
And everyone's laughing.
No one can deny this. Hey, remember the time you ate shit? I know I didn't. Whole town saw it.
Yeah, everybody saw it. It was like this one time, like... Some neighbors had this giant fucking trampoline, and it was big enough to hold like fucking like a bunch of just kids on it, so we'd all get on it. And then he like the downside was though he had this like fucking horse of a dog called Rat, and it was like it's one of the biggest goddamn dogs I've ever seen. It had like it was one of those dogs that its head looks like a big set of knuckles.
Oh yeah,
and it was really tall and really broad, and like it didn't ever express an emotion. It barely looked alive most of the time, except one fucking time we're all on the trampoline and Rat hops up on the trampoline and everyone is kind of scared of Rat, so all of us clear except fucking like the little brother of the house, Rowan, and he's really fucking small, and he goes, it's just Rat. He's kind of Bronson-y actually, now that I fucking think of it, just not ginger. And then so Rat just fucking sits on fucking Rowan, and at first, Rowan's just sort of laughing because it's like, oh yeah, it's just Rat. But from our angle, we can see that Rat's massive erection has flopped out, and it's just sort of like rubbing against the back of like fucking Rowan's head. And then Rowan fucking like suddenly realizes that the dog's sort of like lazily fucking his face.
That's great.
And he starts sort of making a noise because he can't really scream because then the penis would get in his mouth. And while this whole thing's going on, literally like 7 or 8 kids are standing and pointing at him because he's like being molested by a dog penis, and he just like there was no getting out of this.
No,
like you've just been rubbing a dick.
Everyone's seen it.
Yeah, everyone's seen it. Everyone's bringing this up all the time, forever now.
You watched it. You can't unwatch it.
And like, yeah, I don't care about the fucking Birdman thing anymore if I get to see that.
Yeah,
you know,
no, everything's off the table. Gribble
so
ate
it kind
shit.
of holds together pretty well. Like it's weird. You know, yeah, aside from probably some like issue in terms of like the fundamental stakes and the conflict, the events, like the foreshadowing is nice because we saw that the dog eat the shit. You know, that was a setup, it turns out. It wasn't just, oh yeah, let's have a scene where the dog eats some shit.
The other thing I forgot as well is when Tony was eating the dog food, there was 2 ghosts sitting on the staircase watching and laughing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they're just because the ghosts.
I was like, there's the gay ghosts again. They're sperming up the lighthouse. There's just ghost sperm everywhere.
That's why
they're laughing.
Yeah,
that's what I do, man.
Just go through a period of just masturbating into everything.
Fucking wouldn't you? You'd be a ghost. Like, because you wouldn't get friction burn. You could just go forever.
Yeah, I mean, like, how does
ghost nutting work?
Yeah. What do ghost testicles have inside them?
Little Caspers. They're just marching around.
So, I mean, there wasn't much in the way of a theme, really, or a moral. It was just like, it's, you know, a mimicry cat, like a fucking Taskmaster cat helmet is useful. So it's like, all right. Like, there wasn't really any, like, there was some slight mention of, like, it's sexist to call it the Birdman competition at the start, but that went nowhere. Unless
Fiona does say when Gribble says
bird person.
Yeah, she's the Birdman, and she goes, bird person. And then no one cares.
No one
acknowledges it.
So it's not like there was any kind of like greater point.
If anything, this episode showed Fiona getting shat on emotionally a lot. Because like there were 2, and then Gribbs tried to hit on her as well before he went up.
Yeah,
and did the hang glider.
Asking for a fucking scarf for luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like there's no depth to it, but it was a functional episode and like Gribble ate feces. So, you know, thumbs up here. All right, well now we get to the scariest end of the fucking thing where I have to ask the question, have you ever felt like this? Aaron, did you ever wear a hat or go through a hat phase? Have you ever attempted to fly? Have you ever eaten shit, literally or figuratively?
I knew that one was coming.
So have you ever, did you ever go through a hat phase?
Yeah, of course I did.
Rad. What kind of hat?
I've got so many hats, dude.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think about the cap as like, I mean, like, a baseball cap, I think is like almost, society is almost blind to them. Is there anything slightly more, there was that fucking Batman hat that looked like a Wolverine hat.
When I was young, definitely went through a cap phase, as most young people do.
Yeah, they were omnipresent when we were kids. Like
when there was I've talked about this before, but there's a thing where you go to the Kmart's and stuff and you steal the tags of the sizes and you put them on the back of the hat where it clips together.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was a thing.
It was probably to make it look like you stole it. I never saw that. And I lived in a place where people stole hats.
That was big.
Weird.
When I was young. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, no, when I was old, started getting older, I had lots of hats. So I've got the hat from Minish Cap. whatever the fuck that thing is.
That's right. Yeah,
I've got a Batman fucking snapback
that looks like Wolverine.
Because it's the classic Batman colors.
Yellow and black.
I have the Scribblenauts hat, the chicken sort of looking hat with the thing. I have my like furry like cat hat with the paws. I have I have a bunny hood, same thing with like paws on the end. That one's pink. I have, what else do I have? I've got lots of hats. There's more. I know there's more.
Yeah, it's funny because like now you're saying it, I 100% remember all these things.
I have I have a con hat. KON, that's the line from Bleach. I have an Inuyasha hat, which is it's an anime.
Some other goddamn
Kilala, I think, is the fox spirit. I think it is one of those. Yeah, I got lots of hats.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely big hat phase. I got no personality. What do you mean?
Fucking hats everywhere. What
about you?
Funnily enough, I actually had a little Tibetan hat for a while.
I remember that.
Yeah, it'd be like one of these really small things. I wore it like around like year 9. Just because like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Oh, okay.
Well, I remember you wearing some sort of Tibetan hat in photos occasionally. Sort of knitted thing.
Oh, that might be the fucking fake Russian one someone gave me.
Maybe, yeah.
No, this was like a little... It's like quite small and flat.
Right.
Like,
no, not that one then.
Yeah, no. I was thinking you might have seen a fucking photo of it, but I can't fucking...
No, I haven't.
Fucking remember.
I was thinking something different. And I remember you like, it's not technically a hat, but you had that Superman beanie.
Oh, the Superman balaclava.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, that isn't a hat so much as it's something I put on to just frighten people.
Dude, for those who haven't seen it, it's a balaclava and it's Superman's face, except obviously cut out the eyes and the mouth. So
here's the thing: it came with a fucking Superman costume.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that one of my housemates bought because she was like trying to make a Supergirl outfit, right? So she bought this kid's Superman costume, and it's one of those shitty fucking kids Superman, costumes. So it's just like a shirt and a cape and whatever, and it comes with a, in quotes, mask. But like rather than like just have a plastic fucking the thing you can see in a show bag or whatever, like a Superman mask, it's a fucking balaclava with a Superman face printed where the eyes and the mouth for some reason are cut out.
It's so good.
Yeah, and the end result is nightmarish.
Oh god,
because it's just my eyes and my tongue like poking out through this fucking thing, and it is terrifying. And
if someone robbed you in that, like, I would give them the money. I'd just be like, bro, here you go, take it.
Yeah, you're just like, oh god, I don't want this to turn into a weird sex thing. It's just,
what was the next question?
Well, because like the hat thing came up because I always like think of yachts, and because he doesn't wear it anymore, but he is absolutely patient zero for the trilby thing on the internet,
yes,
and
100%.
I grieve him constantly on that.
Really as you should.
Yeah. The other one was, have you ever attempted to fly?
Yes.
What'd you do?
I think jumped off a trampoline into the pool.
Yeah, I jumped off like the deck of the house with this huge golf umbrella. Because like I was like 6 or 7 and quite small. And so the golf umbrella was massive compared to me. And I was thinking, I wonder if I could like drift, slowly. Like I wasn't expecting flight, but I was thinking it was going to like slow my fall a bit. Did it just
totally...
No, it just does. It just like you need a fairly large amount,
Yeah.
Like, and it needs a hole in the top. So the air actually goes through as opposed to just fighting its way around.
Yeah.
It. And like, I don't know. I think maybe, but then I'll be like that guy that tested his fucking parachute by jumping off the Eiffel Tower and then just hitting the ground. There's footage of that.
Why? Start small. Like,
I know.
How that's so mind blowing to me, dude.
And then
this thing could kill me if it goes wrong. Have you tested it? This is the test.
Yeah. Bye. Let's see. So there was that. God, have I done anything else?
I'm pretty sure I have jumped off a height with an umbrella at some point.
I feel like every kid has done that just to see if you can.
Yeah.
That's more or less it.
What about the shit one?
I mean, like I've.
You mean trying to fly, right?
Well, have you ever eaten shit literally or figuratively?
Literally, no.
You sure?
That I can remember. Like, I might have when I was very young. Like, who knows? Like,
I mean, it doesn't need to be your shit.
No.
Okay.
But I do not have any sort of scat fetish, so that's never came up anywhere else. If anything, I have a scat phobia.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, like, one of my favorite, like, there was a thing on Reddit once of, like, you know, people who have an extreme sexual fetish, you know, can you tell us a story about, like, you know, finally getting to do it? And the number one thing started with the sentence, I used to have a scat fetish. And that was good. Because it's a guy realizing just as it happens that he maybe doesn't have a scat fetish.
That's a problem with those sorts of things is like you find that thrilling and then all that sort of stuff. And then it's like the thing can actually happen. And then it's like, oh, wait, that's actual poo.
Yeah, like think this through.
The smell of it, the texture of it, it's
in your mouth.
Oh,
I mean, so my granddad had like a paddock out the back with 2 horses in it. And so, you know, you'd find this dry piece of horse like shit and pick it up and throw it at your brother. And like, I mean, to be fair, it was probably me starting it every time. And then occasionally there'd be like a cow pat you could hurl like a frisbee. But he was like just brave enough to go for like fresh horse shit. I didn't want to touch it if it was warm. That kind of grossed me out. Whereas like, I think he was like angry enough to not give a shit. And because I didn't think he was going to touch the fresh horse shit, I didn't see the fucking throw coming. And it got like the top right corner of my mouth. Ugh. And I mean, the funny thing is, it's kind of like acrid, but otherwise, you know, like you don't want to taste it, but also it wasn't the worst. Like I've had worse medicine. You know, that liquid medicine used to have to get as a kid.
Dude, I've been taking Gaviscon at the moment and just, oh, fuck, that stuff just is rank. Blah.
So yeah, I have had actual shit in my mouth as a result of
I don't think I have. Like, I can't remember any. I can't remember getting any thrown at me.
I mean, also figuratively, like if you've just fucking come off of a skateboard and just fucking whammed your face or something.
I mean, I fucking landed on my tailbone. So outside my house, when we used to live at Albany Creek, you'd open the front door and then there'd be like our front yard and a path, and we'd had a fence front yard, right? And along that path on the right, there was pavers to create the border. So I was really into skateboarding because Tony Hawk had come out, the games and all that sort of shit, and, you know, Jackass, all that sort of stuff. Or the skaters were very
having
present.
Their time in the sun.
Yeah. So I wanted to skateboard, obviously.
Yeah.
And I'd been practicing, you know, I could finally, you know, do fucking ollies well and stuff.
That's pretty good.
And I did this ollie and I tried to land it. It went sideways. And I came off backwards like this and landed perfectly on my tailbone, boom, on the pavers. And let's just say I didn't skate for a very long time after that, because that was one of the worst experiences I've ever fucking had. I just remember lying in the garden, like just in the dirt, just going, I'm not getting up for this sucks.
Where you just don't.
And there was like penis mushrooms in my face. You remember those red, stalky penis mushrooms? Yeah. They were like right next to me. And I'm just like,
it's great that you damaged your ass and then had to have penises in your face.
Right? So yeah, that was probably one of the worst times I've ever ate shit. Actually, no, there was one that's tamer but worse. And it's a time I fractured my arm. And I was young and I had a skateboard, and it was one of those big chunky skateboards, not one of the skater ones, you know, the ones that kind of had the tail end and the curved to this flat end at the back and then curve at the front. And I was pushing myself. And my
Were you
arm,
laying on your stomach?
I think I was on my knees.
That's just dangerous.
And I'm pushing myself, right, and my arm goes under and it gets caught, and I just go flunk, and it's gone. Flunk, and yeah, that fractured my arm.
That sounds like it sucks.
Yeah, it did. And I was like, that's the thing. I was just pushing myself in a car park. It was a flat surface. It's not like I'm going down a hill or anything.
You do get like weirdly injured because like there are things I've seen you do that where I'd expect a big injury, and you just like, you know, nothing. But then like sort of just minding your own business and something comes along.
That's I think if my body's not expecting it, I eat shit. But I think that's my superpower. If I'm expecting it, I'm super durable.
All right, so now we got to ask our degenerate fan base if they felt like this. So this is from Crystal. She has felt a bit like this. Hi guys, here is what I have to offer, and it's short. The one word that does annoy me is the mispronunciation of debut. But the boo is pronounced beau, like in beauty, not boo. like a ghost says. And every single commentator on a commercial TV at my parents' house says debut when talking about the acquisitions every fucking day. Now that I am renting again, I once more live in a house where televisions just exist to plug consoles into, so this has ceased to be a problem. Yeah.
Life is so much better when you can escape TV.
I know, I haven't watched like
broadcast
network
TV is just
television
fucking awful.
Yeah. Like every now and then, I used to see it when I'd go up to my mom's for like Christmas, and you just be like, "Wow, people live like this."
Yeah, dude.
This is just what people see sometimes.
Like, get this right. Just sorry to interrupt, but it's on the subject of people living like this.
Yeah.
My mother, we told her to buy a Chromecast because she didn't have a smart TV.
Yeah.
Like she's got an old LCD, and I went over her house like last week, and she did buy one, but she skimped out and bought the cheaper one.
Which one?
So there's two versions of the Chromecast. There's the one where you got to push to it, and there's the one that comes with a remote and is essentially turns it into a smart TV.
Yeah.
So she got the cheaper one. So she's like, "Oh, I thought it would just be like that, except you didn't have a remote. You did it with your phone." And I'm like, "No." So she has to push everything to a TV. Like,
that's funny.
And I was like, "God damn it!" Like, I'm like, "How much was the difference?" She's like, $40. And I'm like, "God damn it, mother."
See, I just like because I bought Mama Chromecast years ago and then just taught her how to push shit.
Oh, it's not an issue that she doesn't know how to do it. It's just it could have been so much better. You know, all the programs would have lived on the TV.
When I bought it.
Yeah, no. But yeah, anyway, continue. Sorry.
So this is from Lachlan for Lighthouse. Hello, Aragorn and Gabbo. It's Jazz Sticky Jizz Hands once more.
Jesus.
Apologies for the late submission, as the answers to these questions are an episode behind, but I was reminded to share these stories after hearing some of the creative answers people gave in the last episode. Have you ever been thrown out of somewhere? Yes, and this story is the main reason I decided to write in, as I figured Gabe would have a particular appreciation for it as a teacher. I was thrown out of school, but in a more literal sense than that sentence would lead you to believe. In my primary school, I think between grades 2 and 4, but my memory is hazy, I had a teacher I'll call Mr. B. He was known for his temper, and I was a little shit at the time. In school, considering how much I acted up back then, in hindsight, I probably should have been sent to a special school considering how much I acted up back then, but I never was. Anyway, I often...
I don't know why they found that so funny.
Mainstreaming. It can be good, but like to a government, all they hear is cheaper. We can just throw little spaz nuts in with the rest of them and not have to fucking worry about them.
Yeah.
And nature will take its course. Anyway, I often went out of my way to frustrate and vex the teachers that I didn't like. Usually this earned me a detention and occasionally some calls home. However, this time was special. I didn't like Mr. B due to his old school authoritarian teaching style, and he didn't like me. I wish I remembered what I did that eventually pushed him over the line, but after a cumulative year of constantly badgering him, eventually he snapped. One day in class, while I was in the middle of arguing with him, he stood up, marched over to me, picked me up by the throat, and threw me out of the classroom window.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Thankfully, it was a single-story building, and I landed in the garden just outside the building, so I escaped any serious injuries and got back up with a few scrapes and bruises. As soon as he had done it, he had pretty quickly realized that he'd be fired on the spot the moment the staff found out, and so rapidly gathered his things and walked out of school, never to be seen again. I don't think I even got in trouble once the rest of the staff found out what happened.
Holy shit! Where are you from? I need a basis for this. I need
a lot of places.
Yeah, I need to know like what part of the world you're from.
But by the sounds of things, I support Mr. B and like choke slamming you out of the fucking...
Dude, when you said picked me up by the throat, I was like, okay. Threw me, and I was like, okay, he's going to throw him out the door, out the window. Yeah,
that's mankind through the cell.
Dude, that's insane.
Have you ever engaged in a protest? Yes, I attended a large climate action protest in the Melbourne. So he's Australian. So that doesn't surprise me. Met a weird number of communists there and felt good shouting while marching through the streets, but haven't attended another since. Between then and now, I've come to share Gabe's view that protests tend to be very ineffectual at producing any kind of meaningful change, and I've grown cynical and disillusioned with the idea of personally affecting the kind of political change I think the world needs. Are you horny for ghosts? Oh yeah, dude. I don't believe in ghosts, but you best believe if they existed, I'd be all over that.
All right, I appreciate that. That's a good answer.
Okay.
Hell yeah, dude. That's a very Steve-O thing. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I'd fuck a ghost.
Dear Aaron and Gabriel, I remember a friend of my brother recounting when he attempted past life regression on a friend of his. Okay? It both worked and didn't work. In his hypnotic state, he claimed to be Max Payne. Or have been Max Payne. Which is even funnier.
Yeah.
Not a word, but a phrase that always gets on my wick is when some Americans say on accident when they mean by accident. Keep up the classying. Yeah, no, the one weird American version of a thing is saying I can care less when they mean I couldn't care less. Like that it's I don't know how you fucking
There's some phrases that just baffle people and they just can't grasp English.
I could not care less means I'm at the bottom of my care. Meaning I don't care about the thing. I can care less means that I have some residual care about the thing.
Yeah.
This is that fucking simple. Okay. Hello, Strength of God and Aaron the Hedgehog. I have two terrible things that have either been eaten by me or I saw be eaten. Mine was a handful of crickets that I collected after watching a nature survival show that said that crickets could be eaten and got very curious.
Oh, dude.
So that's funny because you can eat crickets, but it's like just a lot of things where you can't just pick up something you see lying around and eat it, you know?
Well, you can, but you're not going to have a good time.
They tasted like burnt toast and off jelly.
Whoa.
I don't like to think about it too much.
You got to cook those motherfuckers.
I was 7 at the time, so that's my excuse. The other was when I and another friend of mine were in high school during the biology class where they have us dissect something. In this case, it was a cow's heart and an eye. This dumbass, for whatever reason, decides to pick up the eye and says to me, "Dare me to eat this?" I, of course, tell him, "Yeah, go for it," figuring he was joking. He wasn't, and after about 10 seconds of swallowing the eye, he started to throw up and had to get his stomach pumped. Gonna be honest, I was laughing more than I should have. No, that's like, if anything, you weren't.
Yeah, you're laughing too little.
Yeah, I'd have gotten in the ambulance with him and just pointing and laughing the whole fucking time.
It's like when my friend ate the fucking packet of saffron in home ec because I dared him to, and he just goes, and it just goes orange, and his teeth and like tongue were bright orange for like a week.
That's so fucking...
Because that shit stains.
Yeah.
What does it taste like? Burning.
Yeah, like it's not. It's not something you usually put in for. Like there is a flavor to it, but it's like you can't just put raw spice in your mouth.
No,
it's awful.
No,
none of them were good. As for words I hate, when a manager or supervisor calls the employees family, drives me crazy. Yeah, it's like it's one of those like abusive families.
Yeah.
Quick one. Yes, I have been horny for one ghost.
Ooh.
The ghost from Scooby-Doo Ghoul School Ghost Phantasma.
All right, I gotta Google this.
Blame fan artists.
All right, let me...
because I'm not blaming fan artists because the thing has to be kind of horny to begin with.
Ghost, what is it? Scooby-Doo?
Scooby-Doo, okay, this is insane. Ghouls School Ghost Phantasma.
Ghoul
Yeah, I need to see this. Because the initial thing has to have some horny quality to it for it to work. You can't just... Like, any fan artist can make anything horny. Like, that's not, like, impressive.
Yeah, there's horny Mona from fucking that Wii U game.
Oh, Manita.
Look. All right.
All right, look.
Maybe I can see a little, maybe. But I don't even know what this show is.
Is it the purple-haired one? It's got to be the purple-haired one.
No, it's this one. The blue one.
Oh. Yeah, I kind of get that. The art style doesn't lend itself to, like, because she's got, like, no... I mean, maybe it's a personality thing, but I do sort of get it.
Mm.
There's an energy to her.
Yeah.
But also, like, yeah...
Scooby Ghoul School.
You're going to have to be, you know... The fucking deviant artists are going to have to be putting a little bit of fucking, you know, creative work in there to have it not look like one of those 14-year-old girls that gets mistaken for a boy constantly.
Continue the stories.
Gross eating. I mean, this person says, please don't use my name, but, like, the name is not a name. So, I don't know. I'm just going to call you dipshit.
Oh, yeah.
Greetings, Twisticles. What's the grossest thing you've eaten or seen eaten? This incident happened while I was at university. The martial arts society I was in had a Christmas meal each year, the typical sort of night involving low-grade food and a staggering quantity of cheap booze. This particular year, it was held in the student union, who served us overcooked vegetables, grey meat, and for some baffling reason, spaghetti. This was washed down with several pints of stale beer. After the meal, the tradition was to give shots to individuals who had done well or disgraced themselves in spectacular fashion. An individual who placed highly in both categories earned several and opted to take them as a head shaker. I don't know what a head shaker is. He tipped his head back to have laybacks. Various shots, including the classic mixture of apple sour and Bailey's, point in. All right, I've done apple sour and Bailey's, and that's vile.
Oh, man.
After which another person held his mouth shut and shook his head. He then swallowed the cold mixture to great cheering. Almost immediately, the oh shit look crossed his face. He grabbed an empty water jug from the table and vomited a torrent of half-digested meat, vegetables, and still foaming beer into it. Strands of barely chewed spaghetti added their own nuance to the puke and slithered under a thick head of bile-flecked froth. At this point, he was standing in front of the entire club with a half jug of high-proof vomit in one hand and just enough booze in him to know what to do. With a defiant look, he grabbed a couple of vodkas from the table, tipped them into the gently foaming jug, and downed it in one. To his credit, he held it in. I've seen vomit consumed a few times, but the look of overboiled vegetables, strings of spaghetti, and still foamy beer still stands out, particularly with the added vodka. Needless to say, we were thrown out, though I'm not sure anyone particularly wanted dessert at that point anyway. Love the podcast, so glad to see a second season happening. Thanks for the great work.
No worries. Thank you for the kind words.
Greetings, Mildred and Ethel. Hoping this email finds you high as fuck and dry as fuck, but I still think interacting with YouTube channels is mad weird, but this experience is far too good to share. Yes, I have been hypnotized, but like most alternative medical remedies, I have found that it is immensely more effective if you're open to it working. During my years at uni, I developed horrific insomnia and was willing to try just about anything to get some sleep. Fast forward to the annual Summer Renaissance Festival and their new act, a traveling master hypnotist, having been raised by a loving mother who was into yoga, herbology, and all kinds of alternative crap. I immediately thought this was bullshit. So I went and sat through his whole show, and after I watched everything from making all of his volunteers drunkenly sing to a grown male biker be convinced he was not only pregnant but gave birth on stage, I thought to myself, wow, those sure were some good audience plants, and went back to eating candied nuts like the 20-year-old smartass I thought I was. The thing about that 15% in my experience, though, is that it's usually where a lot of modern medicine and psychology is rooted, and as such, it often works to a terrifying degree. Being that I couldn't get the show out of my head, I went back to see one of his later shows, and he did most of the same stuff, this time with different people. Unable at this point to come up with a rationale of how a hypnotherapist and fair performer were able to afford all these bribes by selling therapy CDs, I mulled it over, and after a full year and 2 more shows with again different people, I decided I did not in fact know everything and bought one of his anti-insomnia hypnosis CDs for $20, which has been one of the only things that actually help with my insomnia and get me through my studies. Astonishingly, I highly recommend checking out Franco or a similar hypnotherapist if you're into it.
Can you make me come without using my hands?
And want to kick your insomnia or smoking habit in the ass.
Oh.
Below is linked a terrible phone capture of the show. The whole thing's solid, but it's worth skipping to around 1726, if for nothing else than to see a grown man give birth and then to breastfeed an ethereal baby.
Ugh.
Definitely not actually Franco plugging his own show.
That would be the fucking best twist of all. That's why I didn't want us to use the name. It's actually them. Dun, dun, dun.
Chicken hypnotism. Hey there. So I think that hypnotism is largely bunk, but I have seen and been taught how to hypnotize chickens.
Wait, you know how to hypnotize chickens?
By my dad.
Oh.
The man grew up on farms in both Belfast, Ireland, and Ohio. That's weird. So he amuses himself by doing all sorts of stupid animal stunts, and I learned this during a talent show where he wrote a sketch about hypnotizing, wait for it, chickens. In this sketch, he showed a friend how to hypnotize the creature by holding its beak to a flat stone, placing a piece of chalk at the tip of its beak, and quickly drawing a line away from it. This resulted in a stiff chicken, apparently in a trance-like state. He would then use some sleight of hand to fake the chicken laying an egg right in his hand, which he'd smash on the ground in frustration. The act climaxed with him losing his shit completely and throwing the last egg into the audience that this one was hard-boiled. Side note, there was a British family that sang God Save the Queen at that show. Thank sweet chocolate Christ that wasn't in Ireland. Though there's maybe a future question, this show being this show, my dad also, as a child, shot my aunt in the face with a pellet gun.
Jesus.
He did this because he and my uncle were shooting at sheep on the farm. Sheep apparently have thick hides and will just bleat and wiggle when you shoot them with pellets. And when you live on the farm, and you take what any entertainment you can create. That's fair. Anyway, my aunt was out in the field, crouched among the sheep for reasons my brain refuses to contemplate, and stood up as my dad fired. According to him, he shot her right in the corner of her eye, so the pellet went into her eye socket and out her nose. My father went on to somehow become a world-class engineer who modernized washing machines in the 70s.
Wait, what?
I know, and strongly disapproved of my more artistic career choice of writing, but highly approved of anything criminal I did, such as stealing my stepmother's minivan. The man was a confusing hodgepodge of weird psychology and animal abuse. The most disgusting thing I ever ate was octopus tentacle, probably raw, with a Diet Coke. I don't think I have a verbal trigger, but I'm probably going to skitch out and start Dread-style murdering other motorists.
I feel like we need to do a documentary on this person in their life. Because...
Or their dad.
Yeah, because, like, what do you mean the modernization of the washing machine?
I know, like
that's a bit, that's like saying invented the peanut, you know, like invented the chestnut. That's a Dr. Evil thing.
No, I know. It's like, just imagine, like, just talking about, like, any fucking relative and then just slipping in there, yeah, he also invented, like, the rear view mirror. It's like, what? It's like, no, that's more like that deserves more explanation than everything else we've heard. Okay, so from PD. Hey, keep it classy, people. Loving the series. Here are some of my answers from that last episode. Have I ever been hypnotized? No. I have seen it done on stage once, but I suspect it is mostly just suggestion and people wanting to be applauded. A friend of mine once claimed her boyfriend had hypnotized her into some kinky stuff once, but I suspect it was more of a role-play thing than actual hypnosis. Well, there we are, Aaron. Confirmation of the hypno-rapist. Science! What is the grossest thing I have eaten or seen eaten? For me personally, as a baby, I ate maggots. We were in a shitty house where maggots dropped from the ceiling. Huh. And Mum likes to tell me and anyone who will listen that she discovered me as a baby devouring them by the handful. I'm assuming that means, like, she found you. She didn't give birth to you. She just found a weird maggot-eating baby in the roof one time. It was like, oh, well, I suppose I gotta keep it. For a less infantile story, my sister had a friend in late primary school who absolutely loved eating old expired food products. I saw her eat moldy bread at school for brunch. And once when she came to our place, my sister gave her a jar of pickles that had been out of date for almost 3 years from the back of the fridge.
Ooh.
She downed them all, and the memory still haunts me to this day.
Was she,
That's so weird.
was she not sick? Like,
probably not. Like, I think once you, like, inure your gut to this shit, like, you can people can tank stuff. It's just like, it's hard getting there.
Yeah. I used to be there, but then I stopped eating all weird shit and then it went away.
I don't want to eat.
Maybe that's why my gut's all fucked, because I was so.
You've got like weird savage gut flora. You've got like Mad Max gut flora.
God damn it.
It's like killing everything now. There's nothing to challenge it. What is a word that you hate or sets you off? The obviously one word is the word whatever, especially when it's said right after someone loses an argument or wants to dismiss something. Bugs the hell out of me. But for the most part, it's not words that get me, but the inflection. For example, the word shocking is fine, but if you put emphasis on the shock part, it unnerves me for reasons I cannot fully comprehend. Love the series, and hope you're both doing well with all that flooding and Oz government BS. Not much better here in South Australia, but at least we're all partially underwater. Great, keep up the work. Come on, phone. Obey my commands. Hello, Aaron and Gabe. I have had to move suddenly. It started with coming back to my mom's after a long weekend away working. The cat had whizzed on my new bed. The straw that broke the camel's back. I was looking for properties the next month, applied for a rental the month after, moved the month after that. I was an artist at the time, cruising by comfortably, but a new flat was too much for my income, so like no self-respecting artist, I dropped the studio in favor of an independent living space. Output dropped, and I picked up a cash-in-hand job at a pub to make ends meet. The girlfriend also moved in, fairly suddenly. I was able to secure work about a year after I got my new place. I'm not rolling in cash, better now than before, especially better than during that little blip. Just sudden girlfriend moves. Closest to thrown out was at a pub after drinking 9 pints, about 5 liters of beer in 4 to 5 hours. At that point, I was writhing on a wall like a bear scratching its back on a tree. Yeah, that's time to go home time. The bouncer came to my friend and said, I think it's time you went home. It was Christmas Eve and I walked the 2 kilometers back home alone. All I remember of the journey is writhing around on a park bench, being sick somewhere, verified by the vomit patch on my shoulder the morning after, and spending way too long trying really hard to get into the wrong house. Christmas Day was spent hungover as shit at my grandparents' house. My grandma paid £1,000, which is about $17.50 Australian, to a professional hypnotist to find out why she was so miserable.
Jesus.
I wasn't there, but apparently she didn't like being told she was a pretty petty and hate-filled woman after coming to.
Why am I so miserable? You're petty and hate-filled. I don't like that.
The best part is that's a ringing endorsement for that hypnotherapist.
Right, yeah.
Because you can just come out and go, oh, goblins make you sad. You got to come back. It's like, no, the guy came out just with a fucking diagnosis. Yeah. It's like, why am I sad? You're a bad person inside.
Jesus. I don't think that's a hypnotist. I think it's a realist.
Yeah. Welcome to Gabe's hypnosis. What's my problem? Oh, you're a shit cunt.
No, your fist do the hypnotizing. Now look directly into my fist.
Yeah. I can't see any. I'm a sucker for weird, gross food. I have enjoyed kidney. I've eaten kidney. Liver. I've eaten liver. Black pudding. I've eaten black pudding. Haggis. Never had haggis. Octopus. I've had octopus. Oysters. Had scallops. Had whelks. I think maybe.
The fuck's a whelk?
It's another kind of like weird sea thing. I think it's a sea snail actually. Oh yeah, it says here sea snails. I pressure cooked a duck carcass into the bones had the consistency of wet sand and ate them. Yeah, that's weird. I've had roadkill pheasant. All right. My first and only YouTube video is me eating surströmming, fermented Baltic herring. Oh, that shit.
Yeah, no, look, I will.
The girlfriend had to tell me they were poisonous before I stopped eating mistletoe berries.
That's
I
insane.
ate one or two of my toys as a child. Despite all this, I can't bring myself to eat tongue, and I don't like McDonald's.
What are you? Are you a grimace?
Yeah, I
think
like
this
he's
is a grimace.
Yeah. The letter that drives me nuts is the letter H. When people pronounce it H instead of H. Years ago, I'd call people out and get into big arguments about H, as in the dictionary, and I'd get more mad when they wouldn't check and insist on being right, or when they would check and still insist on being right. Time has worn me down, and I figured it's not worth dying on that hill. I know I'm right, and we're all happy with just being left alone to do our own thing.
Oh, shit. Fucking, why does it matter, though?
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those little things. It's just like they'll be, they'll
Like,
just
I understand
be
if a word
pronunciations.
is being like, there's
If
one.
it fucks with
it's
meaning.
got one, yeah, exactly. But, like, both are accepted, aren't they?
I don't know. I think so.
Well, what is it? Is it they're saying they like H, not H. The H is the one that drives them mad.
Which
H.
I do know is like, yeah.
H, yeah. Well, I just say, do you say fucking herbs or do you say herbs? Because I say herbs.
Weirdly, herbs is the...
Yeah, I know. But fucking, for me, I'm just like, that's herbs. Like, just looking at it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it's such a soft change that like...
English is fucked.
Yeah, well, there's that. But I mean, like, there's a lot... Like, again, it's not like a situation where it's corrupting the meaning of the word.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that I think can be a bit of an issue.
Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z, like...
I mean, see, I say Z, but I say Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Because that's just what the show came across as, Dear Twists, there is an entire category of words that annoy the shit out of me. Hypercorrect plurals, especially octopus being pluralized to octopi and to a lesser extent platypus to platypi. Because octopus has been an English word for centuries, there's no reason not to pluralize it like any other English word ending in S. And since it comes from Greek, the correct plural would be octopodes anyway.
I like that.
Yeah. Whenever people insist on using hypercorrect plurals, look smarter, they just select tools instead. Well, I mean, the problem with octopus for me is it ends with like S. So it's octopuses.
Yes.
That sounds gumbier.
That sounds Gumby, yeah.
I mean, octopodes would be like kind of a halfway point because that's how people are going to pronounce it because the Greeks didn't use, it was phonetic. So it's like, that's how it's written octopodes, but it's Podes and the podes is like, and it's also because it's like the,
I like,
plural.
Isn't platypus plural as it is? Like, look at all the platypus.
I think that'd work. I think it'd probably work for octopus as well.
Yeah, look at all the octopus.
Like, have multiples just be built into the word as standard.
Well, then we can just start using words like, flock and all that sort of stuff. And
look at that flock of octopus.
Pot of octopus. What are multiple?
Cool. Yes, I wonder if the subject of reincarnation was broached in the last episode to subtly lampshade the change of actors. Great work as always. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, if he'd acted like I'm Other Bronson or something, I think that would have probably been... I mean, I just don't think it's necessary. People didn't think like that back then, Like the concept of like fictional canon is something that can be very loose depending on like the surrounding shit. Like all the ancient myths and shit, people would just make up stuff as they went. And so stuff would be directly contradictory. Like there are just blatantly contradictory versions of like the Pandora story with the box like that. There's just two completely separate versions at least. There's like completely contradictory versions of a lot of, Greek myths. Things like that are like, that's an oral tradition habit where like, that's just going to happen and people didn't, worry that much. But like once things are written down and there's like a thing you can point to, that's where like the idea of like singular canons and like starts to sort of become a little firmer. And like nowadays, like it's incredibly common when you can look up a wiki and know immediately. It's like, oh yeah, he said this in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, so that nowadays the idea of like, okay, having canon explaining differences that the viewers may see, things like that becomes a bigger deal. Even back here in the 90s, it's just like, there's another series of this show. The actors are different. Shut up. Like no one's, people are going, oh, there's different actors and that's just it. That's Bronson because he's named Bronson. It could have been an Estonian midget.
Yeah.
It's still Bronson.
So I've been trying to like find out what a group of octopuses are. And now apparently there's not really an official term because octopuses are solitary creatures unless they're mating or there's an abundance of food.
Yeah.
But a lot of people seem to have settled on a consortium of octopus. That's pretty cool.
That's not bad. I mean, they are weirdly intelligent. All right. So that's this marvelous episode called Copycat about a Mongolian cat hat that makes you fly, which I think is like maybe beyond the powers. Because like that's the thing, like Taskmaster can't see you fly and then go, oh, off I go. Like he can watch you do a karate kick, but that's it.
Yeah.
Like there's limits. And I like that there were limits to the cat, but also flight I think is like, now you're getting into some hectic magic territory. Yeah. All right. But remember if you desperately need the internet attention and vague mockery that we just gave the last arrangement of embarrassing nitwits, the email is IHaveFeltLikeThis, all lowercase, at yahoo.com. Email your sad little stories to IHaveFeltLikeThis at yahoo.com. And remember, the questions are, did you ever wear a hat? Or were you one of those kids who went through a hat phase? Did you have a hat as an identity? Have you ever attempted to fly? And have you ever eaten shit, literally or figuratively? I'm going to really, and I say this knowing it's probably a mistake, but assume that most of you haven't literally eaten shit. So I'll give you that, I'll give the audience that opening. Part of me expects to be proven wrong on that. I feel like I'm walking into a rake and I can see it, but like, hey, what are the odds that it's going to happen again? That was Copycat, Season 2 of Episode 2 of Round the Twist.
Next episode's coming up. It's called Little Squirt, and it's about a peeing competition.
Oh, God.
Next week's going to be a banger.
The goddamn thumbnail for it looks like hentai.
It might be hentai. We don't know yet.
It's getting there.
It is on Amazon.
Yep, and so I'm Gabriel Twist. I'm at Gabriel on Guard at Twitter. You can probably find me.
I am Aaron Twist. You can find me at KEC Aaron on Twitter. And you can find us at keepitclassy.com, new website pending.
Oh, yeah.
We have felt like this, and I hope you have too.
Bye.